As we age, it's natural to reflect on how we want to spend our later years. Many people imagine living near their children, thinking it will allow them to be involved in their grandchildren's lives and enjoy more family time. This idea of closeness is often portrayed as an ideal way to stay connected, but it may not always work out as expected. In fact, based on numerous accounts from individuals on online forums, it appears that living near your children in later life can lead to unintended consequences. One of the most common concerns expressed by people is the fear of becoming a burden to their children. As we get older, it's normal to need more assistance, and while your children might initially welcome this, the dynamic can change over time. Many people have shared stories about how, despite their best intentions, moving closer to their children eventually led them to feel like they were imposing. Think about it. Your children are likely juggling demanding careers, managing households, and raising their own children. Adding a parent to their already full plate can cause them to feel overwhelmed, even though they may never voice their frustration. For example, one woman mentioned on a Reddit thread that she moved closer to her daughter to be a part of her life and help with the grandkids. But she soon found herself needing more and more help from her daughter, to the point where she felt like a burden, even though her daughter never said anything about it. She reflected on how much this changed their relationship and left her feeling stuck. It's not that your children don't care about you, they do, but being nearby can unintentionally create a dependency that can put strain on both of you. Living independently, on the other hand, can help preserve the parent-child relationship by ensuring you don't put too much pressure on them. Another issue that arises when living close to your children is the potential loss of independence and identity. When you're close to family, it can become easy to rely on them for various tasks, from running errands to making decisions. For instance, one man who moved next door to his son and daughter-in-law thought it would be convenient, but he soon found himself asking for help with even small things like grocery shopping or getting rides to appointments. Before long, he stopped doing things on his own because it was easier to ask for help. He admitted that his confidence to do things independently started to fade, and he felt like his life revolved around his son and daughter-in-law. He even began to forget how to live alone. Living further away from your children can encourage you to remain independent, both physically and mentally, which can have lasting benefits for your overall well-being. It can help you maintain your identity and prevent the feelings of dependency that can arise when you're constantly seeking help from your family. Living too close to your children can also strain the very relationships you're trying to nurture. Just because you're family doesn't mean you'll always get along, especially when being nearby amplifies small issues. Many older parents report that living too close to their adult children often brings about a reversion to the parent-child dynamic, where they feel the need to give unsolicited advice or opinions. One mother shared in an online discussion that she thought living next to her son would give them more quality time together, but it ended up feeling like she was always in his way. She found herself offering advice too often, which her son didn't appreciate. This created tension between them. Even though you may believe you're simply offering help or guidance, your children may see it as meddling. When there's more space between you and your children, interactions become more intentional, and there's room for both parties to grow individually, without the constant pressure of one person always being involved in the other's life. Interestingly, living near your children can sometimes lead to a sense of isolation. This might seem counterintuitive, but when you rely too heavily on your children for social interaction, you may inadvertently neglect your own need for companionship outside of the family. One woman who moved close to her son found that, contrary to what she expected, she wasn't included in family gatherings or social events as much as she had hoped. She uprooted her life, leaving behind friends and her community, believing she would be part of her son's daily activities. But his life was much busier than she anticipated, and she ended up feeling isolated. In contrast, living independently encourages you to build your own social circles and seek out new experiences. This keeps your life vibrant and meaningful, helping you stay engaged in the world and preventing loneliness from creeping in. The dynamic of living close to your children can also create guilt and a sense of obligation for both parties. For parents, there's the guilt of needing their children's help, which can feel like a burden. For children, there may be the pressure of feeling obligated to assist their parents, even when they're already stretched thin. This emotional weight can cause tension and contribute to feelings of resentment. As much as children want to care for their aging parents, there's often a fine line between helping out of love and feeling like they have no other choice. Both sides can end up resenting the situation, which leads to stress and emotional strain. Ultimately, while the idea of living close to your children may seem appealing, it often leads to unanticipated challenges. It can create feelings of dependency, strain relationships, and even cause isolation, despite being in close proximity to family. Living independently, on the other hand, allows you to maintain your sense of self, stay active, and cultivate other meaningful connections. It's essential to weigh these factors carefully, as the decision to live close to your children in your later years may have far-reaching effects on your emotional and physical well-being. Living near your children can sometimes create an emotional atmosphere filled with guilt. As much as you may love being close to them, the proximity can bring about unexpected feelings. You might feel guilty for asking for help, even when you need it. And your children may feel the same when they can't make time to visit or assist you as often as you'd like. One woman shared a poignant experience where she constantly found herself torn between caring for her aging parents, who lived just down the street, and her own busy life. She explained that every time she couldn't be there for them, she felt guilt, but it was coupled with resentment. She wanted to focus on her career and children, yet the pull to support her parents was always there. It became a no-win situation, creating emotional strain for everyone involved. Furthermore, there's the emotional toll of feeling like a burden when living near your children. When you're close, there's a sense of constant obligation, and it can weigh on you. However, once you decide to live independently, this pressure starts to fade. Visits become more meaningful, with less underlying tension. There's a shift in the dynamic, and you both start to appreciate each other more, without the unspoken expectations that can sometimes feel overwhelming when living close by. Another aspect to consider is the risk of missing out on new experiences. Living near your children might unintentionally limit your willingness to explore new places or try new things. There's comfort in being close to family, but sometimes that comfort zone can prevent you from embracing new adventures. One man shared how he moved to a different state after retiring, opting not to settle near his kids. While his daughter was initially disappointed, he found immense joy in the change. He joined local clubs, made new friends, and immersed himself in a community that aligned with his interests. He admitted that he would have never had these experiences if he had stayed near his family. Now, when his children visit, he feels as though he's showing them a vibrant new life rather than just being a part of theirs. Retirement can offer an opportunity to reinvent yourself, whether that means traveling, moving to a new city, or becoming part of a retirement community. It's your chance to embrace new experiences that will enrich your life and keep you feeling engaged. There's also the consideration that your children may not be prepared for the responsibilities that come with caring for aging parents. Most adult children are not emotionally or practically ready to take on this kind of responsibility, even when they try to handle it gracefully. One woman recounted her experience with her mother moving in close after her father passed away. At first, it seemed like a great idea, but she soon realized she wasn't prepared for the weight of the responsibility. Balancing work, raising her own children, and caring for her mother became overwhelming. It caused stress in her marriage and left her feeling exhausted. Many adult children are still navigating their own lives and are not ready to take on caregiving duties. When parents live at a distance, it allows children the emotional space to prepare for these responsibilities in their own time, on their own terms. This way, when they do step in to care for you, it comes from a place of readiness, not obligation. As you enter your later years, it's important to remember that you deserve to focus on yourself. Many parents feel that their value comes from being close to their children. But what about your needs, passions, and desires? After decades of working hard, raising a family, and making countless sacrifices for others, it's time to put yourself first. One woman shared her experience of moving to a beach town by herself after retirement. She had spent her entire life taking care of her family. But after much reflection, she realized she wanted to do something for herself. She found a place by the ocean, and for the first time in years, she started to focus on her own happiness. Her children still visited, but they saw a mother who was content and fulfilled. She realized that by taking care of herself, she was offering her children a gift they didn't expect: a happy and confident parent. Your retirement years are meant to be a time for rediscovery. Whether you travel, pick up new hobbies, or simply enjoy peace and quiet, this is your time to prioritize your well-being. Focusing on your own personal growth and happiness strengthens both your own life and your relationship with your children. Living near your children also means being exposed to their parenting styles. While this might seem like a great opportunity to bond, it can sometimes lead to frustration. You might not agree with how they discipline their children, the activities they choose for them, or even the food they serve. When you're living close by, you may find it harder to bite your tongue when you see things you don't agree with. This can create tension, as both sides might feel judged or misunderstood. It's important to remember that your children are doing their best and that their approach to parenting may differ from your own. It's essential to maintain respect for their choices, even when they don't align with your beliefs. Living apart allows both parties to have the space to be their own people, without the constant pressure of feeling like you're always under each other's microscope. Living away from your children can offer a great deal of freedom and peace. It allows you the space to focus on your own life, while also giving your children the freedom to develop their own way of being a family. It's an opportunity for both sides to grow individually, with the understanding that their bond will remain strong, no matter the distance. Imagine finding yourself in a situation where you quietly, or not so quietly, disagree with how your children are raising their kids. One grandmother shared her experience on an online forum, expressing how much harder it was to navigate her daughter's parenting once they were living nearby. She mentioned, "I never realized how much I'd struggle with my daughter's approach to parenting until I moved closer. I want to help, but we're constantly clashing over small things like how much TV the kids can watch and how they handle tantrums. It's exhausting, and sometimes I regret moving so close." Another woman shared a similar sentiment. She had moved closer to her daughter with the hope of spending more time together, but things didn't turn out as she had expected. "I thought we would bond more, but instead we've been clashing over how she raises her children. I grew up in a different era, and it's hard not to offer advice, even when it's not asked for. We've had arguments over things like screen time and discipline, and now I feel like I have to tread lightly around her." When you live far away, these differences in lifestyle are less noticeable. You don't see the daily decisions your children are making, and that distance allows for more acceptance and less tension. It also helps maintain the respect needed for a positive relationship, keeping your role as a parent intact without slipping into one of constant criticism or offering unsolicited advice. This distance allows your children the space to make their own choices without feeling judged. On the other hand, living closer can sometimes blur these boundaries. Even with the best of intentions, proximity can lead to overstepping. When you live too close to your children, it can be difficult to maintain healthy boundaries. It's easy to pop over unannounced or expect more frequent visits, which can unintentionally create pressure for your children to meet your needs at all times. This can lead to emotional exhaustion on both sides. One woman shared, "I love my mom, but once she moved nearby, I felt like I was always on call. She would show up unexpectedly, and while she just wanted to chat, I felt like I had no privacy. I started pulling away, and I know that hurt her." Maintaining boundaries is crucial for both parents and children to preserve a sense of autonomy and mutual respect. When you live further apart, it's easier to maintain these boundaries, allowing your children to maintain their family life and giving you the space to enjoy yours. When visits are planned ahead of time, they become something to look forward to, instead of an expectation that can lead to unnecessary tension. While being close to your grandchildren can be a wonderful experience, It can also become overwhelming. For many grandparents, there's an unspoken expectation to be heavily involved in babysitting, school pickups, or simply spending large amounts of time with their grandkids. Initially, this might be fulfilling, but over time, it can start to wear you down, especially if you feel obligated to help when you'd rather focus on your own needs. One grandfather shared, "I moved closer to my daughter thinking I'd enjoy more time with my grandkids. I love them dearly, but now I find myself watching them almost every day, and it's exhausting. I'm retired, but it feels like I've taken on a new job. I don't know how to say no without causing tension, but I miss my free time." Living at a distance makes it easier to set boundaries. You can still be an involved grandparent, but on your own terms, without feeling like you've taken on a full-time caregiving role. This ensures that your relationship with your grandchildren remains joyful, rather than becoming a source of stress or obligation. It's not always easy to admit, but living too close to your children in your later years may not be the idyllic scenario you once imagined. It can lead to feelings of being a burden, a loss of independence, strained relationships, and even isolation. In fact, your best life may be one where you maintain some physical and emotional distance while still nurturing those important connections. This doesn't mean abandoning your family or distancing yourself emotionally. It's about giving yourself the freedom to live your life to the fullest while allowing your children to do the same. It's about finding balance. Stay close in spirit, but give yourself and your children the room to live fully and independently. Your golden years should be about pursuing self-fulfillment, maintaining your sense of identity, and thriving in ways that go beyond your proximity to family. Trust me when I say your family will appreciate you more when they see you living a life full of purpose. The space, both physical and emotional, creates stronger bonds, healthier relationships, and ultimately, a happier life for everyone involved. Remember, the relationships we nurture with our families are built on love, respect, and mutual understanding. Give yourself permission to live your life the way you want, and your family will benefit from your happiness as well. If you've ever been in a similar situation or have thoughts to share, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us reach more people, and it means the world to us. Thank you for watching, and remember, keep thriving, keep growing,